I'm focused on his spirit cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost was with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today I've got some good news. It's really good news for me, for people I know, people in Michigan, and I guess, I don't know, Trump folks all around in Michigan. A judge dismissed the charges against the fake electors who signed papers saying Trump won the 2020 election. And if you've been following me for a while, then this case has been going on for a minute, and you might be, if you know anything about it, you might be like, they didn't say whether that was going to go to trial yet. It's been a long process. I do not feel like, you're entitled to like a speedy trial and all that stuff. I don't feel like these people were treated justly, and I really believe from jump you could have known that they weren't going to meet the standard to be found guilty in court, because they're charging them with fraud, and that does include an element of intent. And the top Democrats and stuff were like, oh, I believe that these people actually believe that he won the election. So if these people actually believe that Trump won the 2020 election and that they were the real electors and they were just signing their names to the papers as they were, trying to investigate and, rectify the situation, how can you say that they were trying to defraud the people of Michigan? So we'll go through. I haven't read the CNN article. I assume it's biased, but we'll read through it real quick. It's like 3 minutes long, but I know quite a few of the people who were wrapped up in this. Have kept in contact with them. I was texting people today, telling them congratulations, and they thanked me. Kathy Burden was a RNC committee woman who was wrapped up in all this, and when they did a fundraiser for the different electors, I did a video on her behalf asking people to help her, and the electors as they try to raise money for their legal expenses. So it was a really heartbreaking time, this whole situation, and I'm glad that the judge dismissed the case, and I hope that the attorney general just at this point lets it go. Anyway, we'll talk about that and some other things as well. But before we jump into everything, I would encourage you guys to go blacktenews.com, check out different content, website, articles, videos, etc. If there's anyone there seems to be an issue. At least StreamYard is telling me that there's some kind of outage or issue with Facebook. I don't know if anyone's watching from Facebook right now. I guess I can check real quick to see if it's live on Facebook. But there could be some issue. I saw a little heart. That's a Facebook thing, so someone must be watching on Facebook. I don't know if there's going to be any issues during the stream, because they say it's on Facebook side of the problem, but it seems like something must be going okay, because I just got a little heart, and it's yep, it's okay. So we are live on Facebook. It looks like it's a little fuzzy, but that might just be on my end, though I don't know why. Okay, let me check on YouTube. Sorry, guys. I am my tech person. I am my tech person, so we shall just really quickly make sure that I am live on YouTube. Well, I guess if someone, the chat's quiet right now, but if someone could just let me know, and I guess that'll be the end of it. We could move on, but but go to the website, check out different content on the website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do, please consider leaving a donation on the website, because it does cost a stream and run the site, all that good stuff you guys can't support. I very much do appreciate it. You guys can also Check out different merch that's available on the website as well. That does also support the show. I know that someone the other day got the "I am not the victim you're looking for" T-shirt. It's one of my favorites. Um, so you guys can check out that. I was through the moon, so excited today, guys, because there was someone had on TikTok. My author page is like very small. I don't know why people aren't translating from Black Tea to go over and like my author page, but I'm trying to grow it. But anyway, sometimes people say, "Hey, indie authors, drop your book in the comments and stuff." And so I see posts like that. I think some people are just kind of using indie authors for engagement, farming or whatever. But I go ahead and drop my website, my book. One of my book covers, the one I always pick, is The Color of God's Eyes. Because that's it's I don't know what everybody else's favorite is, but usually that's the one that everybody really likes and the one that I recommend. It's very unique out of all the books that I have. um I think there's unique things about all the things that I write, but it's just one of the most kind of different things you can find, and it's really, really good. So I and the cover is really striking too. So I dropped the cover for The Cover of God's Eyes. I think I just explained it as historical fiction fantasy X-Men meets the American Civil War. And so this one person picked my book to do like an author spotlight, and they pick 4 books for the month, and she told her followers that as soon as she saw it, she knew she wanted to read it, and she doesn't typically read that genre. And so she was letting her followers know that she was going to read it. So she started reading the summary to people, and I'm like, "Dang, that's a really good summary." Sometimes summaries are so difficult for people to write. And I don't know what it is about it, but sometimes it's just, I don't know. It's just hard to sum up. I am live, okay, on YouTube. Sorry. Um, it's just hard to sum it all up, kind of. I don't know. But that I was cooking with that summary. I was cooking with that one. So someone in her comments was like, "I'm gonna download it right now. I can't wait." And so they're on Kindle Unlimited, so you can watch your page reads and stuff go up. So I anticipated that the person in the comments or whatever was like some of the numbers is up, so I'm counting it and stuff. And as it continues to go up, and so I figured that person finished both the books and just really quickly just blazed through them. And so the other person who's spotlighting it posted an update today, said she's halfway done and that it's a hit. And the person who had downloaded and read both books, they're like, "Oh, thank you. I devoured these books. Now it's put me in a reading slump." I guess that means that one was so good she doesn't know what to read next. And so I just thanked her and I said, "Oh, this made my day." And she's like, "Oh, your characters are divine." And so I went on her page, and so she's been making like different videos about the characters and like AI images, like what she thinks they look like, and just talking about the slow burn with the romance and all kinds of stuff. So I'm just I was happy last night, I was happy this morning. And so it's exciting when people are, when they enjoy your work, and when they go a step further and start making kind of like fan art. Though it's AI, so it's not them doing the art, they're just generating it. But you know it's still neat that someone likes it that much. So anyway, that series is this. There's a link in the description. They'll take you to the Amazon page if you haven't um seen it before or whatever, but you guys can go there. There's also a link on my website that will take you to ninjadoespublishing.com. If you go to the merchandise page, there's a banner at the top. But the easiest way, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, there's a link in the description. I'll take you to the Amazon page. But yeah, those are the books that they're really liking. And I just know I cooked with that one. I just know that I did. It's a good book. It's a good book. So I think it's at like, I don't know, 4.5, or it might be higher on the stars, and 28 reviews. That's not like a crazy amount of views or whatever, but most people tend to like it. So anyway, I just wanted to share some of my joy. Now I have more joy to share with you guys. So As you guys recall, I'm sure after the 2020 election, lots of things happened. There was lots of confusion with the results as things were pouring in slowly, and Trump was at first was like, okay, we're gonna look at stuff, and then eventually it turned into no, he won. And there were lots of challenges. Now my life was very hectic after the 2020 election. My dad went in the hospital the day after the election, um and he had a pneumonia, and no, or maybe he had bronchitis or whatever, something like that. But I don't know, they just sent us the COVID floor. So he could have had it, he could have gotten it there, who knows. But yeah. So he ended up being in the hospital for like a month. So while everyone's like trying to do the election challenges and like not accepting the results or whatever, that was going on. Also, my aunt, I think it was my aunt, passed away during around that time too, because I think there was a rally that I went to like after the funeral, I think. So in my part in the rally, there were some people who were just like, these results are garbage or whatever. I just went there to talk about how the media was so crazy during the election and suppressing like the Hunter Biden laptop story, things like that. And Donald Trump was looking for votes, was looking for like, hey, do these signatures match up? Did these ballots come in after the fact? Was looking for to try to close the gap on the slim margins, and was while he was contesting the election. And so while he was contesting the election, he had different he had electors in different states, you know, go and sign and documents, whatever, to say that they were the electors, the duly elected electors. And the idea was that once Donald Trump, it was really said that he like won Michigan, that we wouldn't count Biden's electors, we would count Trump's electors, and that's who they would count, on January 6th or whatever. So it didn't work out. Obviously, we know the history, and people who engaged in the signing of their names, they were prosecuted by the attorney general, and the case has been going on for a while. So let me read through this CNN article, because maybe it'll explain everything, and maybe even better than I maybe just did it. But I wonder how biased it might be. Okay, a Michigan state judge on Tuesday dismissed charges against the fake electors who signed. What, by the way, they are Michonne Maddock, who was one of the electors. She would push back on that, and she say, we're not fake electors, we are real. We were elected by the other Republicans within the Republican Party to be the electors for Donald Trump. So they were elected. Were they elected in November of 2020? Not according to the results, but that's what they push back. Someone elected them, so they just can push back against the fake electors slogan. But the fake electors who signed the certificates falsely claiming Donald Trump won the Michigan in 2020 election, saying that the state failed to prove the 15 men and women were knowingly trying to break the law. The group includes current and former state GOP officials, a Republican National Committee member, a mayor, a school board member, and Trump supporters who were the plaintiffs in a frivolous lawsuit that tried to overturn the 2020 elections. Each was facing 8 charges. This is a fraud case and we have to prove intent. And I don't believe that there's evidence sufficient to prove intent, Judge Kirsten Simmons said from the bench Tuesday in her Lansing courtroom. The ruling ends the criminal prosecutions which sought to punish state level actors for ignoring the popular vote results, which went in favor of Joe Biden, and instead institute the will of the political actors who supported Trump. The outcome is a staggering blow to the efforts to hold the 2020 fake electors and their allies accountable, though there are still pending cases in Nevada, Arizona, and Wisconsin. Federal charges against Trump, which touch on his involvement in the fake electors plot, were dropped after he won the 2024 election. They were dropped after he won the 2024 election, but they obviously ran into other issues with that prior to the election as well. Just want to point that out. And the sweeping Georgia racketeering case against Trump and some of the fake electors also stalled. Yeah, the racketeering case in Georgia got screwed up because the person who was prosecuting Trump got into her own trouble because she had like a inappropriate relationship with one of her folks. So, which apparently someone within the Trump team, I guess, knew about that or knew kind of the dirt they were going to have. So as some people were quickly like kind of flipping, I guess they were kind of sitting pretty a little bit, Trump and his team, because they knew that they were going to be able to go after her. He has the worst enemies. He just has the worst enemies. Michigan was one of the 7 battleground states where the Trump campaign put forward slates of fake electors as part of a plan to undermine the electoral college process and potentially disrupt Congress certification of the 2020 election results on January 6, 2021. In issuing her ruling, Simmons said the fake electors truly believe they were carrying out their constitutional duty by signing the fake documents. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it was these individuals and many other individuals in the state of Michigan who sincerely believe, for some reason, that there were some serious irregularities with the election or with the voting, and that somehow their candidate didn't receive all the votes that was intended for them. The judge said their actions were prompted by that belief, she said, therefore lack the criminal intent required to convict. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel, a Democrat who brought the case, said at the press conference after the hearing that she believed the judge made a very wrong decision. The GOP electors knew Donald Trump lost. They lied anyway, and that is a crime, Nessel said, referring to the now dismissed felony charge signing the fraudulent election papers. This is the most dangerous slippery slope for American democracy when courts decide that violations of election law shouldn't even be heard by a jury, Nessel said. I'm terrified for the 2026 elections. If they can get away with this, what can't they get away with next? Prosecutors can appeal the decision, and Nessel said Tuesday that her office is evaluating its next steps. Lawyers representing the Michigan fake electors hailed the ruling. This was a farce from the beginning. Nick Sonnenberg, a lawyer for fake elector Michonne Maddock told CNN on Tuesday, there was no forgery, there was no conspiracy, there was no fraud. We've been maintaining their innocence since day one, and Dana Nessa needs to be held accountable. I know Michonne, and I know Nick too. Nick was when I was like the vice youth chair of the Oakland County Republican Party, and he was the youth chair at the time. He's a lawyer in the state, obviously. So this story hits close home to me. Like I know these people. And by the way, if you're unaware, a lot of these people are like retired, like grandmas and grandpas, and this has dipped and hurt their retirements, money that's supposed to be like inherited to their kids. It's just been really rough. And I'm like, are you really going to put like people who are 60, 70 years old in jail for fraud that when you know the intent is sketchy? Like, you have to prove intent, criminal intent, that they meant to fraud the people. You have to prove that. just I'm sorry to be like rude to elderly people, but so many people fall for scams anyway, like who are older. Um Sometimes like, Dad, who are you on the phone with? And I worked at a computer store, and man, sometimes people coming in because they gave their password to the wrong person and got locked out of their machine, and um it's just crazy some of the things that people believe anyway. Like, I know she's like, oh, Jada Ness is saying, oh, we could have got this in front of a jury. The jury would not have been on your side unless, I mean, I guess you could have stacked it with a bunch of libs. And maybe that's what she was hoping for. But if I'm not mistaken, I believe early on Dana Nessel herself said that they believed that Trump won. And people were like, if you are saying this, why are you prosecuting them? Because there needs to be intent. There needs to be intent. So if they actually believe that he legitimately won the election, why are you bothering these people? You cannot like it, but that's how the law works. Why are you wasting the taxpayer dollars? Like, I understand you want to allegedly protect the integrity of the election, which I don't 100% believe that, but because there's issues with Michigan election law that we changed not too long ago. There's actually been a story during the last election that there was a Chinese national who voted, and the only reason why they found out is because he kind of tried to undo it, and you can't undo it. So he cast a ballot in Michigan that was worth the same as mine. So we have an issue, and you can register to vote on the same day as election day in Michigan. I'm like, why would anyone want that? People talk about elections non-stop up until election day, like way far out. We have early voting basically because of the mail-in ballots that we can get. So if someone's not registering until election day, do you think that those are informed voters? They might be influenced voters that you got a bunch of kids and you want to bust them to the polls or something like that. But if you didn't take the time to at least make sure you were registered before election day, I'm not saying they can't vote. I'm saying I don't necessarily want them to. I'd prefer if people were informed when they vote. Like, I don't know, maybe that's not a popular opinion, but I feel like you're not that invested if you just register to vote the day before. And you don't have to register to vote like every year or something in Michigan. You don't, or, I just registered to vote the one time. Kevin Kijowitzki, an attorney for the fake elector, man, they really like repeating this fake elector thing. Clifford Frost said in a statement that the dismissal of all charges shows that this was a weak case driven by politics rather than facts. It was a weak case, or should have been a weak case. This was a political calculation, not a pursuit of truth or justice, said Kijewski, who is running for the GOP nomination to replace next year as Michigan Attorney General. Boy, Dana Nessel, if you're unaware, I've talked about Dana Nessel a few times. Maybe some of these things will ring a bell for you all, because I know it seems like very few people who watch are from Michigan. I mean, there's people who watch are from Michigan, but usually people are like, I'm from California, I'm from this place. I don't know how many other Michiganders often watch. So maybe you don't know how crazy Dana Nessel is, but let me just, give you a couple of insights to her. So Dana Nessel, when she ran, and this is incredible that they still nominated her, but when she was running, and this was in the primary, her like introduction video saying why you should vote for me was talking about like basically people are concerned about having 3 women like on the top of the ticket, because you had like Whitmer, you had Jocelyn Benson. But she started talking about different guys assaulting women, and she's like, who's less likely to assault you with a penis? Could it be someone who doesn't have a penis? And that was her campaign commercial. I don't have a penis to assault you with. You know women can also assault by other means, right? But it's true. You're not going to assault me with a penis. At least not one that's yours. um and she still won that nomination. And unfortunately, we had a terrible election year that ended up sweeping her up into victory. And the next midterm, things did not go well for us either. I think that was largely based on the people that we picked. But yeah, she's crazy. I got another one for you. Do you guys recall when there was a story about Hamtramck in Michigan, which is largely populated by Muslims? They have like an all Muslim city council, and so they did an ordinance saying that any flags that you fly like on city property, it can only be the U.S. flag, the state flag, like the POW flag, the city flag, and there's I think one other kind of flag. And you can't fly something else. Like, so if you had a Christian flag or a Muslim flag or a pirate flag or the LGBT flag, you can't fly that on city property. So the LGBT community got so upset, and so they decided to start protesting. And there was even like two girls who decided to kiss in protest, in front of the Muslim council or whatever. Like, oh, that's going to make them change their mind. Yeah, right. And so Dana Nessel didn't like that. And so she didn't show up on the day that like everybody was protesting in front of like the city council or whatever, but she went to, I guess, someone house who lived in Hamtramck and gave a little speech and talked about how if you have neutral policies, then it's still going to be discriminatory against other people. Like you can't treat everyone the same, because that's discriminatory towards people who are historically marginalized, I guess. So they just saw it as hateful. I'm like, why do you need a pride flag hanging up on city property? I guess is my question. You don't see other people whining because they can't have their pirate flag, on city council property or city property. But Dana Nessel was one of those people. She's just she's an oddball. And it is really insane that she's managed to be the attorney general in Michigan. And I hope she doesn't have any other higher aspirational career goals. I don't know how crazy Michigan is right now, to be honest. I thought we were more crazy than we were. And I was a little surprised that Donald Trump didn't win Michigan, because our midterms went so hard for Gretchen Whitmer. And I know a lot of that had to do with, different picks. And the ads were just like nonstop. Just crazy political ads. So but Whitmer won by double digits, even after how crazy our pandemic was. So I was a little surprised that we managed to pull out the win. I know we have a large Muslim population, and they were not happy with the Democrats. Also, you had, our Jewish population that was not happy with the Democrats. So there were areas with high Muslim population that just like voted third party or just held their nose and voted for Donald Trump and did not vote for the Democrats. So there's a lot of things like contributing to it, and Trump got some good endorsements, and he always, worked pretty hard to try to secure a win in Michigan. Michigan is held pretty near and dear to his heart. But I just know we have a lot of crazy people here, and I think after Florida, well, people were flocking, leaving different blue states, and Michigan's been losing people, our population. But if there were going to be people who move here, I would assume there'd be some crazy people because we've just been in the blue for a minute. So, um, I don't know. I just don't know how crazy we are. But I anyway, back to the lecture thing. This has taken so long and it's been such a toll on these people and it's been so unfair, and I just pray that she doesn't move it forward. Now she is crazy, so maybe they'll just try to do it anyway. But the intent issue is a problem for her. And I'm pretty darn sure Dana Nessel said that that they didn't have an well that they believe that Trump legitimately won the election. And I think she was spotting off like these people are crazy. But if you really believe that Donald Trump won and you were just doing your duty in the meantime, then why would you continue to go after them? I'm just searching for that tweet really quick. I think I've tweeted about it. Oh my gosh. I forgot about this. The drag queen says a drag queen in every school. Oh my gosh. I forgot about that. That was her, by the way, if you guys forgot. Drag queens. Yep. Oh my gosh. I just I might show you guys that video. um I think I don't remember when I made that for. Um Maybe it was for the midterms. Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing. I thought I tweeted about her comments regarding this. Okay. Um I think it was her who said that. I'll have to let you guys know. But let me show you since we're on the topic, let me show you this ad that I did about Dana Nessel. No, it's not a problem for kids who are seeking a good education. Drag queens, okay? Let me say this. Drag queens, not only are they not hurting our kids, drag queens make everything better. Drag queens are fun. Drag queens are entertainment. And you know what I'll say? That was totally not poll tested. I say this. A drag queen for every school. That is what would be fun. They are having emotional issues. So, sorry, I don't know. I kind of blocked out for a second. Let me just I'm gonna go ahead and just replay it because I know I had an issue with the internet for a second. No, it's not a problem for kids who are seeking a good education. Drag queens, okay? Let me say this. Drag queens, not only are they not hurting our kids, drag queens make everything better. Drag queens are fun. Drag queens are entertainment. And you know what I'll say? That was totally not poll tested. I say this. A drag queen for every school. That is what would be fun for kids and lift them up when they are having emotional issues. Yeah, I don't remember why. It might have been midterms. It might have been the 2020 election. But the purpose of the public education in public schools is not to teach the kids only what parents want them to be taught. It is to teach them what society needs them to know. The client of the public school is not the parent, but the entire community, the public. So people are like flipped out about that when the Michigan Democrats wrote that. So then they had to like say, "Oh, well, this doesn't reflect our candidates." I'm like, sure it does, because that's what you guys believe. So anyway, this one's crazy. I wouldn't put it past her to continue to go after these people, but I'm glad in the meantime that it's over. But I will be praying for my friends, that it'll officially be over. Um, I was very upset in the past about the lack of support from Trump to some of these people who are really struggling. Um, so you know, I'm glad that it's over, but and I don't know. I guess since the time that I last kind of really talked about it, if there was some kind of support behind the scenes, but um, to my knowledge, there really wasn't. So I just, loyalty is such a big thing. So I just wish there would have been more support for these people as they endured this prosecution. Because people supported Trump like crazy during his prosecutions, which there were plenty of, and donated all kinds of different money to him. He raised a ton of money during the campaign cycle just from people, basically protesting against all the ways he'd been prosecuted. So I wish some of these people got more support. So that made me really, really angry during that time. Because I saw my friends going through. So anyway, I want to show you guys this video of MSNBC. Tom Homan was on the program of Morning Joe talking to Mika. And I think he just absolutely cooked her. So I just wanted to show you guys this.
I see on the show this morning you have Governor Healy talking about ICE doing enforcement operations at a church. Mm-hmm. False. Didn't happen.
They were parked there. They did not do an operation there. She said they were parked in a public space legally.
But to say that and to push that out there puts fear in the immigrant community. So let me tell you what's happening.
To do that puts fear in the community. Right. To park the ICE agent's vehicle near a church. They are on a public street. She said
they're on a public street waiting to respond to a criminal alien release pulled aside the road. Let me tell you, in the last couple of days, what's happened in Boston. They've arrested Victor Gomez Perez, a 33-year-old criminal alien from Guatemala, with charges of aggravated rape, assault and battery with dangerous weapon, indecent assault and battery on a victim 14 years or younger. They arrested Kaylee Espinosa, a 33-year-old criminal alien from Colombia, with charges of aggravated assault on a pregnant victim. They arrested Joshua Gonzalez, a 24-year-old criminal alien from Dominican Republic, with charges for trafficking heroin, morphine, opium, resisting police, disorderly conduct, and drug distribution. They also arrested Samuel Armando Barrera, a 20-year-old criminal illegal alien from Guatemala, pending charges for assault and battery on a child. So Mayor Wu and Governor Healy, they ought to be calling ICE and thanking them for making their streets safer, for protecting their communities and taking these people off the street. They've turned a blind eye to this. They're sanctuary cities. Sanctuaries, cities, and sanctuary states are sanctuaries for criminals. Give ICE access to the jail to arrest a bad guy in the jail rather than have to go in the community to find them. Because when you go in the community and find them, it puts ICE officers at greater risk. It puts the community at greater risk. It puts the alien at greater risk because anything can happen on a street arrest. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to prioritize public safety threats. But when you got governors and mayors who are releasing these public safety threats every day into the community, that causes the crime rate. And we've seen some terrible incidents in the last few days where innocent victims are murdered. This past year, I've seen innocent Americans raped and murdered by people who are not supposed to be here. So rather than going back and forth, say, well, ICE has got a car parked near a church, that is ridiculous. You're out there looking for people like this, exactly what they're doing.
Well, I would argue that actually that the ICE vehicle parked outside a Spanish mass is a frightening sight, given what has happened in this country. I also, with respect, sir, thank you for the information that you have shared on this show, but we would appreciate all of the information, all of it, all of the data that you say you have.
I've done this show several times. Every time on your show, I speak with integrity, I speak with honesty, and I speak with facts. The bottom line is, because of all this false narrative, and you using the term disappearing people,
well,
is
that's
disgusting.
What happened. That happened to the group that was sent to El Salvador.
U.S. citizens get arrested every day. U.S. citizens get arrested by police every day. Are they being disappeared? No, their laws are being enforced. They're being arrested. They're being put in detention because they committed a criminal offense.
Not like what you're doing.
Not even close. We're enforcing the law and arresting people here in violation of law that are public safety threats. That's not disappearing people. That's enforcing the laws of this country and making this country safer.
I think her facial expressions just, as he's talking, and just listing out all of these crimes that he's not witnessing, but that these different people that they arrested have committed, because she knows she sounds like a clown. And like, oh, well, they were parked near church. Okay, well, ICE is also like getting rapists off the street, people who abuse children off the, like, are you okay with that? Like, can we do our job, please? And the fact that there's these sanctuary cities who don't want law enforcement to cooperate with ICE makes things harder, and you're not going to stop them from doing their job. So they have to definitely get creative on how they're going to carry it out. So Mika absolutely looks like a clown, and he absolutely cooked her. And it does bother me when people, and I'm sure it bothers lots of people, how much they're willing to go to bat for these people who have come here illegally. And they're like, oh, they're disappearing people. Oh my gosh, they're separating families. Those things do happen when normal people commit crimes and go to jail. People can't see their kids anymore, can't see their wives anymore, or we don't just say, oh, you can't separate the family. Well, your actions made that happen. I'm not saying you can't have compassion for people, but like, why are we pretending? What's this selective outrage? What's a selective outrage for, Mika? I had a question, or someone had a question for me. Christina, how is it that Bondi is able to federally prosecute the North Carolina murderer for the Ukrainian girl? There was no state lines crossed. How does it get picked up as a federal charge? And so I very quickly looked into it because I hadn't heard about Pam Bondi doing that. But apparently, and this is from the Charlotte Observer, Brown, a homeless 34-year-old, was arrested and charged with the murder of Mecklenburg County after the slashing and killing of a 23-year-old Irina Zarutska on Charlotte's light rail train as it traveled through a busy South End on August 22nd. Now he faces one federal count of committing an act of causing a death on a mass transportation system, according to the news release. The news of the stabbing gained national attention this weekend when Charlotte Area Transit System released a video of the stabbing, and several media outlets shared some of the footage. So I suppose that's the answer, because it's on a mass transportation system, I suppose. That's what it says. So I'm not a lawyer. But I guess I would assume that maybe to be the case, because even like the cases of some of the stuff that, like, when people were robbing Amazon trains and things like that, that was stuff. Well, that's not exactly the same. Well, some of that like fell into like federal jurisdiction, that they could have done more, even though like California, where a lot of people were robbing the trains, and they had, you could at the time you could rob, I forget the dollar amount, but there's certain dollar amount that people were going out and robbing and stealing stuff from, because they wouldn't really be prosecuted unless they breached that dollar amount. So people were saying, okay, well, this is going on during travel or whatever on these trains with all these packages. They could do something federally and not bother with California, their dumb laws, and prosecute and charge these people and try to protect people's products. So I'm assuming that will stick, since if they're going to bother, I guess there's a question of whether they can get, an actual indictment and people to go along with it. Pam Bondi's been running into an issue with some of the things that she's charged, but you know, I would assume that people will not play games with something like this, where there is a woman who was stabbed in the neck and died. We already talked about this story the other day, very horrific story. And the media still kind of is covering it so weird, like, oh my gosh, the Republicans noticed. And there are a lot of people who are trying to make it racial. Again, I don't think it's so much that it's racial. If the media is not talking about it because of the race, then I guess that is a something that really needs to be observed and discussed. But I think people need to know, just so they are not like zoned in on their phone and they're just aware of their surroundings. He's a bigger man who had a knife on him. So in different circumstances, even if she fought him, she could have still been killed. But, I think he, did it because I don't know how much he thought he could get away with. It's a crazy thing to do, period. But Greg Gutfeld went into a great monologue because Brian Stelter tried to talk about this man's mental illness, and Greg was like, this man is not as mentally ill as like people are trying to suggest. Like, he was he knew enough to like ditch his clothes. He knew enough to attack a smaller woman. Like, if he said if he had attacked Tyrus, who's on a show all the time on Fox, who's a big guy, wrestler, he's like, that would be crazy. Just unprovokingly attacking Tyrus. A man looking at a small white woman and deciding to cause her harm because he's sizing her up and she's a smaller opponent. And he allegedly said something about, I got that white girl. If that is the case, he's not that crazy. I'm not saying there's not something wrong with him, but the idea that they're not criminals or we have to dismiss what they've done as far as their criminal acts because they're crazy. I've known some crazy people. They're still accountable for their actions. I've known some crazy people who are still accountable for their actions. So we can't dismiss all that. By the way, Stacey Abrams is trying to now say that she never claimed that she had lost. She's claiming that she never claimed that she won the election. And there are compilation videos of 5 minutes straight of her claiming that she had won the election. So I think I have the compilation that I can show you guys. But I was floored when I saw it. Yeah. So let me show you guys the video of her trying to rewrite history in front of our eyes. I don't understand why people do this when the internet is readily available to us. And this crap reporter just listening to it and accepting it and pushing her narrative like so many other people in the media did during, like, after her loss. They were all like entertaining her. Election denial was cute when she did it, but then after Trump, it was like, oh my gosh, these election deniers are a threat to democracy. And what really floored me was during 2022, CNN did like a list, like an article naming different election deniers. And their definition of like, here are the election deniers, were people who were just like questioning some things and wanted to check some things, not people even saying, yeah, 100%, like Donald Trump actually won the 2020 election. But they were only doing it basically in context of the 2020 election, which conveniently, allowed Stacey Abrams to not get criticism. So this was like, the audacity of some people is just amazing.
In 2018, when I lost my election, I was never confused about it. I had conversations with communities and I would say we won. And that
just before she goes on, I'm just going to say, I believe that she is being honest right here, that she was not confused that she lost. I think that is the truth. Now she's rewriting what happened, but I think that part is honest, that she was not confused. She knew that she lost, but she wanted the game to go on and continue. Okay.
This would send people into these, paroxysms of hatred. What I was telling them is, look, not getting the title did not mean that we didn't make progress. When you are trying to defend democracy, when you're trying to serve the people, progress counts as victory, because their goal is your silence. Their goal is your complicity. Their goal is your subjugation. Every day we remain free, that is progress. But if we have to wait for this large announcement like elections to say that this is when we win, we're going to keep losing. I say, let's look for the small interstitial victories we can grasp, those small moments of progress we can make, because that adds up to the actual victory we're trying to get to.
Okay, so that's nuts. When you have elections, there are literal winners and losers, and we did not get the sense at all that she was talking about some kind of metaphorical "we won in our hearts," win or lose, we still accomplished a thing. That just didn't seem to be the context. So I want to walk you down memory lane here. Here's a five full minutes of her denying that she lost the 2018 election.
I do have one very affirmative statement to make. We won, but I didn't lose. I got the votes, but we won't know exactly how many because of how they cheated. I did win my election. I just didn't get to have the job. We were robbed of an election.
Using the word rigged, using the word steal. Do you think it's dangerous going into 2020?
I don't, because we can actually back it up. And so in response to what I believe was a stolen election, and I'm not saying they stole it from me, they stole it from the voters of Georgia. In fact, someone outside asked if I'm ever going to concede. The answer is no.
This is not a speech of concession, because concession means to acknowledge an action is right, true, or proper. And I will not concede, because the erosion of our democracy is not right.
People are like, man, they're going to steal your election. It was not a free and fair election. I think the election was stolen from the people of Georgia. I believe it was stolen from the voters. Thousands of Georgians had their voices stolen because they were not able to cast ballots, and they cannot be guaranteed that their votes will be counted in 2020 if we don't do this right.
If what happens to you happens nationally, and we see whoever wins the Democratic nominee, if they say, actually, I can prove that there's a number of votes in every state and the same thing that you just described happens in multiple states, should they concede?
I do not think we should concede an election until we know the results of an election. I still fundamentally believed it could be fair. And that's just not how life works. If it looks like it's cheating, it probably is. If it looks like it's rigged, it probably is.
We've been raised to believe that it is invalid, in fact, it's uncouth to call the question. That if you want to run for office again, you got to concede the election so that everyone knows you're a good sport. I'm not.
I said that the election was stolen from Georgia voters. The process that took place during the legislative cycle was one that did not countenance and did not pay attention to the deep and real concerns of those who watched this election be stolen in the state of Georgia. It was stolen from the voters of Georgia. As long as we have eligible American citizens who cannot cast a ballot, then the game is rigged. I am complicit if I say that that system is fair. Concession in the political space is an acknowledgement that the process was fair. And I don't believe that to be so. But I refuse to concede, because concession means that the process was proper, that the result was true and right. And I cannot say that. I tend to say I didn't lose, I just didn't win. And I don't call it a loss, I just didn't win. But yes, you did. Okay. Officially. Yeah, officially. Put it this way, I didn't get to get inaugurated, and that's problematic. Okay. I was joking with Beth backstage when Cliff said, she lost, and I'm like, no, I just didn't win. because we don't know what really happened because of the miasma of voter suppression. I can't know for a fact that I would be the governor of Georgia but for the malfeasance and the mismanagement of Brian Kemp, but I know it's a pretty good guess. So I can't prove that I would have won, but I know we don't know because of how he behaved.
Is he the legitimate governor-elect of Georgia?
He is the person who won an adequate number of votes
But that's
to
not,
become the governor of
with all due respect, and I respect where you're coming from, and I respect the issues that you're raising, you're not answering the question. Do you think it was... You're not using the word legitimate. Is he the legitimate governor-elect of Georgia?
He is the legal governor of Georgia.
You see, I'm here to tell you that just because you win doesn't mean you're won.
You said to me that you did not lose, you just did not win.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about that.
Bad news is that we didn't get the victory we secured. And the thing is, we will never know empirically that I got more votes because we will never know which votes didn't get counted.
But will I say that this election was not tainted, was not a disinvestment and a disenfranchisement of thousands of voters? I will not say that.
You refused to concede and say that you lost. Do you stand by that decision today?
Absolutely. This was not fair. It was not right. And it is deeply improper that...
I'm sorry. Do you guys recall all this? Like how much fanfare she got? And like the election denial thing was one thing, but even before all that, like during the election and celebrities going like knocking on dorm rooms trying to get people to go vote for Stacey Abrams, it was just crazy how much effort they were putting into really trying to really push her to get her to win. And then the fact that they ran her again after Kemp won, like, oh, it was just an error. When someone blows a state election, you should really, really pump the brakes before you decide to give them another shot. Like Stacey Abrams isn't the only example of like trying that and it costing big. I mean, we had that issue with the Carrie Lake, and I hope to God that's not going to be an issue with John James, but I don't know if he'll win the primary, but he's running for governor and he did lose 2 Senate races. So I hope that he's not going to aiming for a third time to lose a statewide election. But there was just so much craze around Stacey Abrams that it was insane. So then after she didn't win, so many people entertain her with this rhetoric of, oh, I didn't really win. It's one thing to say that you don't like the system or whatever, and we won in our hearts or something, I didn't win, but I'm not gonna say I lost. Like that sounds like something meaningful in a metaphorical sort of way. But when you say that you were cheated, you're an election denier. So it's just too late to pretend like, oh, well, I knew that I lost the whole time. I just didn't want to come out and say what they wanted me to say. Like, okay, but you also said other things that were contrary to reality. There's still more. There's still more denial.
Someone could ascend to that role having performed so basely and so crassly against the very people he is now supposed to represent. The election was not fair. The process was not fair.
You notably did not concede.
I did not.
Okay, you acknowledged that he won, but you did not concede.
Correct.
5 months later, do you still feel like your opponent won through voter suppression?
Yes. Georgia voters did not have their votes counted. They were not allowed to cast votes. They had their votes discarded. And it was not fair to those who filled out.
These people voted, man. In Georgia, people came out and they voted, man.
Absentee ballots, and depending on the county you sent it to, it either was counted or not counted, assuming you received it in time. Brian Kemp oversaw for 8 years the systematic and systemic dismantling of our democracy, and that means there could not be free and fair elections in Georgia.
So you don't feel that you lost fair and square?
I do recognize I am not the governor of Georgia, but I do like to point out something that is true for me and for many in our state, and that is we won.
Yeah, so it's funny, sometimes Democrats will call me Stacey Abrams because she has a gap and I have a gap. And I'm like, which I'm not bothered by my gap. I've had it my whole life. I look at my nephew and he has a gap and I'm like, oh, someone I love also has this gap. But it's like the first insult that people try to throw at me or whatever. It's very strange. I'm like sitting around as this giant mass of overweightness, and what they want to talk about are my two front teeth. Okay. It's very strange. But I'll be like, oh, do you not like Stacey Abrams? They're like, no, I like her. I'm like, okay, why are you trying to use her to insult me? Like, I mean, I don't like her, but I know they do. They just think the gap thing will get under my skin. But I'm like, but sometimes I'll be like, do you think all black people look the same? And then they'll feel very silly because they look like they're racist. And besides the gap and both being overweight, that's basically where it ends. Our nose shapes are different, and our skin tones are obviously different. Hairstyle, things like that. So yes, yeah, very silly. Anyway, that's the show for today. The audacity of these Democrats is very, very interesting. There was another clip that I'm gonna save for tomorrow. With about a medical professional who put his name to something saying that gender affirming care was like necessary medical care, and he like swore up and down that he didn't say that, and so someone got the receipt and pulled up a letter. He's like, oh well, I didn't read that part. Like, why are you picking on that part? Like, look at the part that I actually wrote and agreed with. And they're like, you signed your name on this document. Like, what do you mean? So we'll table that for tomorrow. Should be interesting. But anyway, please go to blacknews.com, check out different content, website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do, please consider leaving a donation on the website, because it does cost a stream, run my site, all that good stuff. Guys can support it. Very much appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. You guys can also check out different merch that's available, like different t-shirts and mugs and so on. You guys can also check out some of my books, like the one I was talking about earlier, which I have a lot of fiction books. I have 18 books altogether right now, and 2 are nonfiction. One of my nonfiction books is, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion, but lots you guys can choose from. Anyway, God bless you guys, and I'll